Coming to you live from downtown Detroit, this is Benzinga's PreMarket Prep. With your host, Joel Elconin.
This is a volatile puppy here, isn't it?
And Dennis Dick.
I'm bidding a penny. I will buy the stock for a penny.
With everything you need to start your trading day.
Good morning, everybody. Welcome to this Thursday edition of Benzinga's Pre-Market Prep. Spencer Israel, Joel Elconin, Dennis Dick with you this morning. Well, the market just keeps on rallying. Nothing to see here. Another day of that. So we'll talk about the continued rally in the market. Election be damned. New COVID cases be damned. I mean, I guess the COVID cases are rising, but the deaths aren't rising with it. So market doesn't really care about much. The market just goes up. That's what it does. So we'll talk about that. We got a lot of earnings on our radar here this morning. Qualcomm from yesterday. We've got GM out this morning and a lot of big ones out this morning. So we'll cover as many of those as we can. Alibaba as well. I want to talk about the move in cannabis pot stocks here this morning. They popped and they dropped. We'll talk about that move. We'll get to questions from our chat. Our guest is Ryan Detrick. He is the Chief Market Strategist and Senior Vice President at LPL Financial. Want to remind you all to hit that like button. Show us your love. We appreciate that. We'll get to some more questions from the chats, like I said, later in the show. But before we do that, let's throw it to Joel. And Joel, tell us, how much are we up this morning?
65 handles, right at 3,500. Had a little bit of a sell-off into the close. That didn't last very long. Got a few 7 points below our closing price yesterday of 34.35 pre-market low. 28 and a quarter. We made it in to the 3,500 handle, 35.0850. That matches your October 16th high, next daily high up there at 35.24 if you're looking for another target on the upside. Crude in the red here by 18 cents at 38.97 though, but we do have a little bit of story here in gold. Gold is up $32, breaking out over 1900, 1928.40 is your last print. Silver's in the green too, following it up 4.3%, or that's a little over $1 at 24.93. And Bitcoin has a new handle. It's the 15,000 handle.
Gotta be long Bitcoin. Inflation hedge.
There you go. Cleared 14. It took 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 days to do it, but here we are. Bitcoin is back.
I was a Bitcoin hater for a long time. I've been on the Bitcoin bull train saying it's going to 20,000. I wish I owned it, but I don't. I just can't bring myself to just buy numbers on a computer screen. But I mean, there's no reason not to. This is a market that nothing matters. Fundamentals don't matter. So just because it's digits on a computer screen doesn't mean anything. So I think it continues to go higher too.
You always buy digits on a computer screen for everything else.
But those digits on a computer screen actually have something behind them. They are stocks. So there's actually companies. There's actually something there. Bitcoin digits on a computer screen are just digits on a computer screen. They represent nothing. Just a Bitcoin, which is just nothing.
I don't know.
It's digits on a computer screen. At least gold, you got the gold. But I'm not bearish. Yeah. I've been bullish. I think anybody who's listening to this show, I'm bullish these digits on a computer screen. It makes zero sense to me from a CFA perspective. It makes absolutely zero sense to me, but it doesn't matter. I mean, I'm not going to be short it for one thing, and I'm still bullish. I see no reason why the Bitcoin train gets suddenly derailed. I wouldn't be surprised it goes to 100,000. I want to own it. I want to own it. I just can't bring myself to own something that is nothing, if that makes any sense.
It does a little bit.
Do you guys own it at all?
I don't have it anymore. No.
You had it at one time. I want to own it.
Yep.
I'd be a buyer of a pullback. If I was a crypto trader, and maybe I just shouldn't separate. I'm not a crypto trader. But if I was a crypto trader, I would own Bitcoin right now. I would be long if I was a crypto trader. But I'm not. I stick with the stocks. I stick with what I think I know, even though I know nothing, because this market, I said not to chase yesterday, and here we are up another 60 points. So I guess chasing goes. Chasing works. It worked yesterday.
I mean, it came in at the end of the day a little bit.
Barely. So, we were like 142 or 242 on this, or 342. I'm losing track of 100-point handles. We were 342 on SPY when we were saying I wouldn't be chasing the rally. We're 349. So bad call by me. I guess we should have been chasing yesterday. And you know what? What's derailing the bull thesis now? Here's a market, Joel. And you go to the Qs. We're up 10% in 3 days. This is the only thing I did right. And I talked about this last week. I bought a bunch more Qs in my long-term investment account. I took a good chunk of my cash. I just put it straight up in the Qs. And we're about 272. I was like, you know what? I'm going to just stick it into my retirement account because I'll be happy I did this because eventually tech will turn around again. Here it is. 1 week later, I'm up almost 10% on those Qs purchases that I made 1 week ago. That is just insanity that it can go. It makes me want to trade it right away, but this was in the retirement account. Not going to trade out of those Qs. I put them in there because I trade the stocks too much. And typically when I buy indexes, I don't trade out of them. So sticking with it, but wow. 10% in 3 days up in the Qs, down like an escalator, up like an elevator. It's like backwards world here, man.
It is. Yep. It certainly is. But tech, it's let us out of off the March and April lows. Overall, they had good reports, right? And you've had the election. They're your leaders and best. You can't beat them. We had some good tech earnings this morning too. I guess Qualcomm. You want to start with that one, Spencer?
That was last night, yeah.
Last night.
Yeah, sure.
I wanted to complain today, and you're starting with the one stock that I own that's actually up because I was in a complaining mood today.
You're in a complaining mood.
It's because I'm kind of like a glass half empty type of guy, maybe.
Yeah.
People say I get too negative. But I wanted to complain because I looked at my down filter and I was like, I'm looking today and I'm like, well, I own Alibaba. It's down. I own Bluebird Bio. No idea why I own Bluebird Bio.
I think I know why you own it.
I thought I was going to take it over when Kite and all those did.
That's not a good reason.
No, it's not a good reason. That's been an absolute dog. So anyways, it's getting slaughtered today. I actually almost got back to even. I should have looked at it and sold it yesterday.
Yeah, sell it even. That's what you got to do.
Yeah, I guess that's what you got to do. You don't want to cut yourself
go way against you.
I got Zynga I bought for the breakout, and I was like, I think the report will be okay, but they decided to smack that anyway. So that one's down too. So we got a day we're down, and then I've got Biogen too. I want to complain about Biogen actually because it's down today. So I'm not going to notice that it was up 100 points yesterday. I'm going to complain that it's down 5 points today. So I'm in a complaining type of mood, but I do own Qualcomm, so I guess I can't complain about that one. Give us the details, Mr. Israel.
You're the only person who can like in Biogen, not acknowledge that it was
100-point up move yesterday. I'm pissed off about the 5 points it's down today.
Unbelievable.
I'm joking. This is a little bit of a joke. It was a little bit of a joke segment.
All right, Qualcomm, kind of the headliner from yesterday's after-hours session. Q4 adjusted EPS $1.45 versus $1.17 estimate. So a very nice Q4 EPS beat. Sales were good as well, $8.35 billion. They gave some guidance. They gave some Q1 sales guidance. That was above the estimate there in the mid-high $7 billion, low to mid-$8 billion range. That, again, beat the estimate. So good earnings, good Q1 sales guidance for Qualcomm.
I mean, stock's making new all-time highs. It's got the 5G story behind it. The valuation was never that extreme. This was one of the only stocks that I bought back in March. I know everybody else on Twitter loaded up their portfolios, went on margin, and bought everything back in March. I bought Qualcomm and I bought Microsoft. Both of those were good buys. The Qualcomm has been an excellent buy. Paid, I think, $63 for it back in March, almost to the lows. I've held it the whole time. One of those that I've actually held on to. $147 this morning. I'm up, I don't know, 150% in 4 months. Should I ring the register? Maybe, but I mean, in this market, it pays not to ring the register because tech stocks just keep going up.
Not much to give you here. It's holding on to the gains, and 149.75 hit that in two different brackets, just came back up to that area, holding this 15-minute support here at 147. So underneath 147, you might get a little bit of a whoosh down. Hard to find other support levels after it's trading up so high. And then 149.75. Maybe if it takes out 150, just keeps on going. I don't see anything right now that's saying that's going to be the pre-market, the high for the day. But you never know. It's $2 off it. People may be booking some profits, maybe some pressure from some lower option buyers in this area. Trying to beat the premium gods, but 149.75. That's really the only thing I can give you here in Qualcomm.
And then Alibaba this morning, which is this is the big one. This was trading up $10 ahead of the number. It basically got all the losses back ahead of the number. So we know it got slammed on the lack of the Ant IPO. And we said, we were saying 295, like, don't be early. Well, it only had to be the next day, and then it ripped higher, and then it's all the way back up to 305 this morning. Actually, it hit 308, I believe, this morning, which got all the losses back. And then the print happened, and then they're like, nah, we're going to slam it right back down. So again, this is the type of market, I'm still going to say it, take the gains when you got them, because, in this case, obviously the NASDAQ's rallied significantly, but if you're just long for trades, I'd be booking those gains just as I would have been yesterday as well, because it's the kind of market that it can turn very quickly. And for Alibaba, it turned right on the print.
Yeah, wow, to get that back up. Oh, go ahead, Spencer. Did you want to give some numbers?
Yeah, we want the numbers.
Yeah, so I guess first, with regards to the IPO, I guess I was wrong, because I thought this IPO was going to happen, and it looks like it's now dead in the water. They are refunding the people's orders that they placed.
Seriously?
Yeah, so this anti-IPO is not happening right now. As far as Alibaba goes, Ant is just a small part of their company. The rest of the company is doing great. EPS $2.65 versus a $2.11 estimate. Sales of $22.8 billion versus $23 billion estimate. So slight sales miss. Earnings beat, and I will remind you, the biggest day of the year for Alibaba is in 6 days with Singles Day.
Oh yeah, Singles Day. So remind us 2 days before that, because we like to buy 2 days before the event. So we'll let the Alibaba settle. What day is Singles Day?
It's the 11th. It's the same day every year.
Yeah, but I never remember.
November 11th, Dennis.
I have that goldfish memory. It's 6 seconds. I'm going to forget that next week. So you got to remind me again. Sorry.
Did you change your shirt?
I actually showered too, believe it or not. I did have a shower. I didn't shave to have time to shave. That takes an extra 5 minutes. But I had time to shower. Wife hosed me down with the fire hose. So I look okay here. And I put on my nice Benzinga shirt.
Okay, one of your two shirts.
I like this.
Right now, I'll tell you, if you woke up at 4, Dennis, did you whack that Baba this morning? To fill the gap like
Baba.
that.
That's why
No, for a trade. For a trade this morning.
No, it would have been a good whack though.
What
were the numbers? So just break it down one more time. Don't have to give the numbers, but how much they beat by?
The earnings beat $2.65 versus $2.11.
Yeah, they blew it away. But in this market, it all means nothing. It's all just hocus pocus. So it just depends how they feel. The sales, and again, but the sales missed. So this market gives 1% of care to the bottom line and 99% of the care to the top line. It's the way it's been since Amazon changed the market a decade ago, I feel like, or 5 years ago.
Yep.
That they only care about top line. Top line miss, they hit the stock. Bottom line, blows it away. And that's why I was looking at GM this morning. I'm like, you look at GM and they're like, oh, that's a lot of money they made. And they're kicking butt and taking names on the earnings front. But the sales weren't great. So that's why I'd be somewhat cautious chasing GM. But that's another story for another minute.
Yeah, you're jumping around.
Alibaba. I do what I do. I jump around.
You got one night's sleep and you're just right back to normal here.
Yep. Ready to go.
Wow. I'm just looking at this, and if you had bought it on that 2-day dip, and then you're right back up, it actually filled the gap by more than 3 points here when you traded up to 308. Is that what the pre-market high? Pre-market high is 308 even. You only needed to go to 305 to change to fill the gap. So. Wow, I'm surprised it was up that high. Now you got to think about this low here. Here's the second time trading down $10.13. It caught this low. That's a big level right there. You take that out. It's kind of fluffy under here. You had a little gap and then 2 quiet days. So not a lot in here. Maybe look at 268, 270 here. Maybe not today, but second time going on this low. I'd be careful if it takes it out.
Spinner with a good point that IQ has their earnings
took it away
later today. And
what are you trying to do? Do you write
I
on
was
the
writing
chart?
fluffy.
Okay.
Jeremy knew some annotations.
So the entire Chinese tech trade here is hot. If you can go to any of those names, Baba, you can go to Baidu, you can go to JD, which we talked about. They're all hot. You can go to the ETFs, like K-Web.
That's why on Baba, you probably got to be buying pullbacks anyways, even without the NIPO. Because China, we gave the analysis, been doing nothing for 10 years. We're going to get, if Biden actually gets in, and Trump is not out of this, by the way, we could talk about that in a minute.
Oh, no.
But if Biden actually gets in, I got to think it's good, that they're going to keep lifting China on this, because we know Trump's playing hardball. They think Biden's going to be a pushover. I don't know if that's the case or not, but that's what Trump wants you to believe. But that's what I think the markets believe too. And I think that's why China had a great day yesterday. So
having a good day today too.
Yeah, it is, despite Alibaba being down. So that's saying something.
Dennis, you're still in your Neo, right?
I'm still in my Neo, yes. Actually, not entirely true. I sold half yesterday because somebody talked me into it on Twitter, and I talked myself into it on the show, and I was like, you know what? I've doubled my money in the course of a month. Time to sell half. So I sold half of my Neo. So I'm still in it, but I sold half. The stock's still firing all cylinders. A little concerning that it just got to that 40 level, big psychological level. Couldn't quite get through it yesterday, but there's no reason really to just, panic here. I just think it's been a big chunk, and now I'm completely playing with house's money. That's what Kramer used to say. That's what I've used to say too. Your stock doubles, sell half, play with house's money. Not a bad strategy.
All right, you want to go to GM here? This is a big report. I don't know what the stock has done over the last 20 minutes, but prior to the show, it was
nice gains.
It was looking not too shabby here. Okay, it's still holding up. So GM reported earnings this morning, Q3 adjusted EPS of $2.83 versus a $1.38 estimate. They beat by $1.50 per share on the earnings. Sales missed by a hair. But that's a nice beat for GM. What else do they say? They say 40% of its new models in China are going to be energy vehicles in the next 5 years. They expect the all-electric Cruise to be deployed by the end of this year, as well as have some driverless vehicles. That was from the conference call. Good report from GM. Good pop this morning. Joel, tell us why we shouldn't feel good about it.
No, I mean, $38. I mean, we got up to that. I can't remember. We had just a really solid run here, and we got to 38. Stopped right at 38 on the nose. Seller ahead of it right now. 37.81 is your pre-market high. So the only thing is, when it got up here last time, is that you, Dennis? Jesus, Murphy.
I drew the trend for you.
Yeah, you're not gonna get it back down there.
I love this. Thank Jeremy Newsom for showing me this.
Yes, I will.
I just draw all over Joel's charts.
We're switching software soon, so anyways, third. What are you gonna say? It got to 38. He
totally took his train of thought away too. He saw this line show up. I'm just gonna say, I like the GM and Ford story. I'm long Ford, but Ford's. I got Ford had a good number too, and they knocked it down after the report.
I know.
So I wouldn't.
GM gives it back a lot. I if it got over 38 and held 38, then I'd say okay, let's go for 40. But man, to say a story, and it's kind of a weird stock the way it trades. It does decent volume, but it's not. What is the daily volume on this, Dennis? It's not huge, is it?
On GM?
Yeah,
it's
huge. Decent.
Oh yeah, GM trades. Oh yeah. Sorry, trade a million shares. GM trades big volume, but I don't know. I'm very torn on this. One, I wouldn't chase the move up. Two, I want to own the stock. I still think GM and Ford are eventually going. I agree with Kramer. I think Ford's going to $10 eventually. I think the EV story for GM and Ford is going to get hot. I don't know when that is, but I'm not going to chase it up 6.5%. I'm going to wait for another dip because this market always seems to give you a dip. And the other thing is, now I tweeted out earlier, I'd be careful chasing it because they beat awesome earnings, but the sales slightly missed. And this market cares more about sales than it does earnings. So you just got to be somewhat cautious when they start looking like, I don't know. So, but the EV commentary can help too. The stock deserves to be up. It deserves to be up, but it's the kind of market that they don't like value stocks, and I wouldn't be surprised if it leaked. So that's why I'm not chasing it. But I'd be a buyer down at that trend line I just drew.
Yeah, and just see what happens at pre-market high. It's pretty distinct on the 15-minute there, right at 37.80. Price said, "Hey, I'm not waiting for 38 this time." So that's a battle zone for GM. And let's take a look at the Ford's chart lately. You're right. It faded off earnings, and now it didn't do much yesterday either. I don't know. You need a big announcement, and not getting it. I guess that 760 area. Dennis, you got to get rid of the line. You can't have it on every chart.
Get rid of the line. Eraser. All right,
there you go.
There you go.
I
got a big eraser there for you.
You got an area right there. 750. What was the low from yesterday? I mean, there's a lot of lows in this same area. I like this chart. This is good support. It already had earnings. I just don't know what's
the catalyst. I don't think you have to hurry into it. I do believe there's going to be a story here eventually, but man, it has been tough to be a value investor in Ford and GM or value stocks. So I wouldn't load up on them, but you got to have a few value stocks in there for the rotation, the whole barbell approach. So, okay. I own some Ford. It's right where I bought it. It hasn't been great.
You
probably a rally to sell.
Just so you can complain about them, you should keep them in your portfolio.
Yeah, that's true.
All right.
I've got a few dogs in there, that's for sure.
All right, Spencer. What else?
Can we talk pod here for a second? So it's worth pointing out that Kronos had earnings this morning, but I don't know if that's relevant. If you just look at all these charts, look at Tilray, Kronos, Canopy, Afria, Aurora. The charts look identical this morning, overnight and this morning. They all popped, and now they are fading hard. Dennis, you pointed out that this was the
Kramer pop on
the work of Kramer. Yep, the work of Kramer saying
at least on CGC.
He said
CGC was on Kramer, the CEO, and he was really talking it up. So
all these charts look the same. I mean, Tilray looks the same. As far if you pull up like a 15-minute chart. Look at Tilray, look at CGC, look at CRON. They all look identical.
You just bring up the weeklies on all of them. They all look identical too. They're in all clear downtrends still. And yes, maybe the story, can get hot again for pot stocks. And yes, they've been in the gutter for a while, and maybe they were oversold. So maybe they need a little bit of a lift. But, we've given the valuation arguments before here. These stocks are not cheap. So I'm not going to talk valuation because nobody cares about valuation in this world. But is CGC going back to 50 anytime soon? I don't think so. So can it get a little short squeeze? Can it get a little bit of love? Yeah, it can. I mean, but I'm not chasing. Again, you're up 7% here this morning. It's now the time to buy. It was probably the time to buy yesterday before the stock was, one, we knew it was coming on Kramer. Two, they were hammering pot stocks and they hated them yesterday. Now all of a sudden they love them. So I got to think there's overhead supply when you get near 21 here on CGC. That's from 2 days ago where everybody got caught long. So I'm not excited about this rally.
Yeah, but there's also people this morning who were caught at 21, 22.
Oh, it was high. It was there this morning?
22.50.
What are people doing? Why? Why was it 22.5 this morning?
That's what I thought you would know.
Well, it was on Kramer and he pumped it a bit, but maybe there's got to be another headline. I know Afria bought some drink or something, but holy mackerel. Okay, so I all caught. You're right, Spencer. 22.5. It's I don't think it's anywhere it's getting 22, 21. I think it continues the leak probably. So I'd sell rallies. I'm a seller of rallies in all these Canadian pot stocks.
Yeah,
the U.S. competition's coming too. I mean, is it really good news that, we're legalizing across? They can say, oh yeah, we have more customers, but you know what that also means? There's going to be more producers coming at them too from the U.S. So these Canadian pot stocks that have just had a gravy train going, because they're the only place to go for so long, that ship's sailed. That's why I think, I went, the grow generation, I don't know from a valuation perspective, but there's still at least a story there because it's just getting the party started. But this party ended a long time ago for these pot stocks. And I think it gets hot every once in a while, but I think these rips are just selling opportunities.
This one, I was looking at, did it as a pre-market prep stock of the day. And, it sold off yesterday, and I think the real buyers in this one started nibbling down here, like around 14. You had all these days here, and then started to run up, and then the debate. Kamala Harris mentioned it in the debate. You had to run up, and then Monday, I know what the trade is. I got to get in, because pot's going to get improved, and then they pulled the. This is really 22.50. I mean, we're $2 off that high. What was the high from yesterday? The high from yesterday was 1957. So, wow, this thing is all over the map. I don't think we're going to get that low, but take a look at if you get a look, even if you get into the 21 handle. 21.13 was your 2-day high, and some volume traded up there when it went to 22.50. So sell on the pop. That was at like 5 a.m. this morning.
Wow, that just got way overdone.
Yeah.
I mean, sometimes it pays to get up and you got these stocks and you see ridiculous moves. Don't question it. Just book the gain, because sometimes these 4 a.m. moves and these 5 a.m. moves, there's no liquidity out there and people are all excited about whatever story. Sometimes they get way overdone.
All right. S&P is just dancing around 3,500 here. Still up 62 handles at 34.97. About 11 points off that pre-market high, 35.0850.
All right, 8:27. We'll have Ryan Detrick on in about 8 or so minutes. Let's go more down our list here. Upwork had earnings yesterday, up 26% this morning on a heavy volume. Earnings per share, 4 cents versus an estimate of an 8-cent loss. Sales of 96 versus $90 million. Q4 sales guidance above estimates. Fiscal year sales guidance above estimates. So good numbers across the board, at least from the headlines for UPWK.
Great call by Jason Raznick on this one.
Yep.
I owned it with him and I sold it, and I shouldn't have done that. Obviously, it's way significantly higher from where I sold it here now. I like the story. I just sold it because I thought it had a pretty good run. And, sometimes you think it has a good run, but there's more ridiculousness ahead. Now this is a big move here. So,
wow.
I mean, we're touching up to all-time highs on this.
We're above all-time high. Well,
That's impressive.
Yeah.
I originally bought this at $9 before Jason actually brought it on. I was in this one time from like 11 to 15. And then Jason talked me back into it, and I rebought 16 and wrote it up. I think I didn't write it very well. I think I wrote up to maybe 18. But now it's 25. Wow, a new all-time high. Story is still hot. Story is intact. Stocks making new all-time highs. I do not short. I'd be a buyer of pullbacks.
Yeah.
UPWK is for real, man.
That is a big move, and we got over $26. Pre-market high just initially on the pop, or no, I mean it walked up there. It didn't spike up there, Dennis. Wow, just impressive. They just walked it up here. Pre-market high is 26.45. You're $1 off that, so there you go. You got to get to that level, take out that level to keep it going. If not, you might see a little bit of a profit taking in this. Support 24 at that 4 a.m. open, and if you want a number of the day, just to keep an eye on, former. Oh wow. What was his all-time high here? All-time high was 25 even. So stay above 25 here. Impressive move.
Yeah,
here.
big time.
Wow.
Big time impressive.
I'm seeing some very, very light volume, maybe like 1 or 2 trades in Generac this morning. So you might see it up like 35%, but I don't think there's any really
GNRC
up there. Kramer discussed it last night as well. But,
you're talking the 300? That was an off-exchange print. I have no idea. I hope somebody didn't get totally screwed on that. It printed $300 for 200 shares at 8 o'clock. I got to think that was a misprint, maybe. I don't think that. 8 o'clock, you see some funny stuff. That could have been a misprint. Either way, it's way outside the market. So it's 233 right now, up $10. It's a big move for GNRC2. It's just been an incredible stock. It's a stock that I would own on a pullback here. Another Jason Raznick pick. He had a couple. The Rocket wasn't a good one, but man, he's had some other really good picks here. GNRC's been a fabulous pick.
Did they have numbers?
No.
Okay.
It's just trading up just because everything's up.
We just got initial jobless claims. I mean, I don't know what more there is to say. I guess you can say they are worse than expected. 751,000 jobless claims filed last week. That's in line with the previous week and higher than estimates. These numbers are, at this point, it's numbing. I think we're all numb to these numbers by now. But yeah, 751,000 jobless claims filed last week. So we're not going down on a week over week basis, which I guess it goes to show we still have a long way to go to actually get out of this crisis. 8:31 here.
And that's a good, before we bring Ryan on there, just in talk a couple minutes about, we do have a long ways to go to get out of this crisis, and we have the tale of two markets here.
Yep.
And, we've seen it happen here in the last day where you think, wow, what a rip roaring rally. Well, it's not if you own value stocks, because the IWM, bounced back a little bit towards the end of the day, but, stocks like Caterpillar just slaughtered yesterday. The banks, we talked about them already. They were really ugly. I mean, the retail stocks like Kohl's and Nordstrom just going straight down. Macy's straight down again yesterday on a day when it seemed like everything was going straight up. It's, American Airlines. You can look at Boeing not participating at all. There's definitely so much separation. Nothing more pronounced than yesterday's trade where they had to buy every tech stock and they left the reopening stocks in the dust. And maybe that made sense because obviously with Biden coming in, he's not going to be just reopen the economy. And we talked about this the day before the presidential election, that if Biden gets in, the reopening stocks could lag. And they lagged big time yesterday. I got to think that maybe that continues until obviously they need a vaccine. And I don't know, when that's coming. Nobody knows when that's coming. And if you're just flat out just buying value stocks or buying reopening stocks, hoping you turn it around, they're not keeping up with tech whatsoever. This market is buying tech because they think it works with or without COVID.
Yeah, it's weird because like on the one hand, you see daily new cases rising. You don't really see daily new deaths rising with it. So you could say maybe there's a few reasons why. Maybe we're getting better at treating this thing. Maybe it's just it is a result of more testing. But the market doesn't really seem to care about daily new cases like it used to, which on the one hand indicates, okay, the market's looking past this. But on the other hand, you've got the fact that all these industries just have not rallied. Retail, travel, tourism have not rallied. In some cases, they're at the lows or near the lows. Yeah. And from that point of view, the market's saying, oh, no, we're not done with this yet. We're not out of the woods yet. So it's sort of these competing narratives. Well, on the one hand, the market is shrugging off all these new cases, but on the other hand, they're not buying the stocks that really got punished hard in February, March, and April. So I don't know what that is.
I mean, look at American Airlines.
A competing narrative. I don't know.
It is a competing narrative, and American Airlines is where it was in March. If you bought American Airlines so inclined to say, well, eventually it's coming back, you had a couple rips in there since then, but it's right where it was in early March. So you can buy right on the March lows. UAL, same story, not on the lows, but they're back to where they were in March when they were really chopping around. Carnival Cruise Lines is basically back to where it was in March. It's $13. It had the rip roaring rally in June when we thought we were getting past it, when it got to 25, and it's right back down here again. So Boeing, same story. I mean, these stocks are just not participating, and COVID is the reason. So the question is, do we see, once we get a vaccine, do we see this trade reverse for a while? I mean, because there's so much separation between the tech, the Zooms and the Pelotons, and the Teladocs, and then the old economy or does this just, not even matter at a certain point in time? I don't know the answer to that question.
You don't need an answer to the question. I mean, the charts tell you what to do or what not to do.
You got to buy tech on pullback. It's what works. Yeah. It's why I went in my retirement account and I didn't put American Airlines in their retirement account. It means like 20 years from now. I didn't add American Airlines. I didn't add Boeing. What did I add last week? The Qs. Flat out out of the Qs. I had a huge chunk of cash that I had sold when I was nervous. I was like, I got a 10% pullback in the Qs. I don't want to miss the next boat. So I put the majority of it to work, just flat out bought the Qs, don't even overthink it. And boom, it's up 10% in 3 days. It's unbelievable. That's the trade that continues to work. That's the trade that continues to pay. I'm not sure it even derails with a vaccine. I think it cools off if we get a vaccine. Like believe me, tech can actually go down if we get vaccine news. But we don't have any clarity of when that's going to be. So we're so far away from that. It's hard to just all of a sudden say, I'm going to short tech and buy these, beaten down value names.
Yep. All right, let's bring on our guest here, Ryan Detrick. He's a chief market strategist and senior vice president at LPL Financial. Ryan, good morning.
Good morning, guys. Thanks for having me back. What are we going to talk about? There's nothing happening today, I guess.
Well, actually, Well, before we get to what's actually happening, I want to tell everyone, if you're watching the markets last week, specifically last Wednesday, October 28th, and you're wondering what is
my birthday,
on?
by the way.
Why are we
Happy
starting off?
birthday.
Why is the market so weak? I present to you Ryan Detrick, who jinxed it in the morning of. He said not only is October 28th historically the best performing day of the year, it's also my birthday, and the market fell a bit. So
that didn't work, did it?
Did not
Mark
work.
Mark Twain said history doesn't repeat, but it rhymes. It didn't rhyme so much this year, but I had a good birthday. But boy, that one viral, as the kids say. I mean, it's a fun little, stupid little stat. My birthday, market's usually strong, and everybody talked about it. I got some, after Wednesday last week, so we bounced back. But what can I say?
We're fading the Ryan Detrick birthday next year. I'm writing that one in my calendar here now. October.
I'm getting older. It's not as good. That's how it goes. So, yeah. But, guys, I'm building on what you're saying there, Dennis. I mean, I've come on with you guys all year saying, we still like growth. We still like tech. We still like healthcare. That's where the earnings are coming from. In a low growth, low inflation, low rates world, which is where we still are, we think this recession's over. We think next year is an expansion. It's not going to be great. 100,000 new cases. I mean, we are still in a slow growth world. Investors reach for growth, and we still, in models that we run for our 17,000 LPL advisors, we still have a little bit of a tilt toward growth over value, with tech kind of being one of those areas. And after what's happened after this election with the split Congress, which should mean less regulation and less potential headaches, I guess, for tech, that's still a group that we think makes a lot of sense to continue to lead into 2021.
I mean, the market just continues to speak the same story here, so it's hard. But as a trader, though, I mean, you look at this and you're like, okay, before the election, maybe you were nervous going into this election. And what if, we don't have a result right away? The market, everybody says it's going to sell off, including myself. And now you see the NASDAQ rally basically 7% in 2 days, and we still don't know who the president is. What do you do now? Like, do you chase it up here, or do you wait for that pullback that inevitably seems to always come? You
guys see my screen, right? I hope that worked. Share screen.
Gotcha.
Perfect. So I was on with you guys a month ago. I said, listen, election years, October tends to get a downside surprise. There's always some jitters. And then you can see what happens next. I wrote this on our blog yesterday, lplresearch.com. November and December are usually strong during election year. And I get it. 2020 is unlike any year we've seen. At the same time, my opinion is we've had a lot of good market breadth here, a lot of good participation. Credit spreads have remained really tight. The bond market hasn't been worried. We had that strength in the 10-year yield. I know what the 10-year yield's done since the election, but the strength in the 10-year yield, all of it kind of added up to us that, there's this scary, uncertain event happening, but things still look pretty good for an upside resolution, a chase into the end of the year, if you will. And I know it can all change in a blink of an eye, but still, we still think it makes sense, and we're going to get some strength this fourth quarter, whether we get a resolution on the election or not. I think the market's voting. I looked to predict it. It's like 86% chance that Republicans retain, as of this morning, the Senate. That's what the market wants to see. They all say gridlock is good. I've been saying it all year. Guys, this will be the 11th year in a row the S&P 500 finished green when you had a divided Congress, okay? It's not about Republicans, Democrats. That divided Congress truly is more of a tailwind than not, and that could be all the market needed to see for the rally. And clearly, boy, it's happened. But yesterday's just so unique, right? I mean, NASDAQ up 5%, S&P up, 2%? I forget the exact number. You had more stocks down than up. I mean, like you guys were talking about before it came on, if you weren't in the growth names, you didn't think yesterday was a good day at all. So it was unique under the surface, but still, I think, this growth train is still probably the place you want to be in the near 6 to 12 months from now.
I look at those stats you're showing and look at this slide, and it looks like we just got to buy in September and October, because November and December are always good, it looks like.
Yeah,
even in non-election years, those are pretty strong. Pretty strong seasonality happens there.
And here's what your average election year looks like. The next one, we're in the troublesome area. Sure enough, my birthday led to a lot of that trouble, obviously, with the sell-off. But then, it's kind of one of those. It is what it is. I'm not trying to say it's going to happen again, but all these data pieces kind of add up. But one thing I wanted to touch on with you guys, we were on record of saying for a while that this race is probably going to be closer than what people think. It was uncomfortable. We didn't see a blue wave. We saw a divided Congress and a coin flip with the presidential election. And we were out there, and one of the things that we talked about was there's higher wages. So you see it on the screen here, which if you look at a percent of based on all the other presidencies, now I know higher wages happened this year because of the CARES Act. We get it. But still, the higher wages historically mean President Trump might have a little bit better chance. The next one is the stock market. I know it's probably not going to be right this time, but when the stock market's up the 3 months before the election, the incumbent president tends to win. If it's down, incumbent president tends to lose. This was everywhere, I'm aware, right? 87% of the time. But once again, it sure looks like Biden's going to eke this out. But I think it was closer than what most people thought. And some of these signals said it's closer. And that's kind of why we thought a divided Congress made sense this time a week ago. And now it's looking pretty good right here.
So, Ryan, part of your job is to advise your advisors, but I'm curious what you're hearing from them and any clients that you speak with about confidence going for, like, so you're projecting confidence, but what are they saying to you? Are they confidence?
No, I mean, investors usually worried. It feels like, for the most part, people are worried. What on the screen right now, Biden's tax rates, right? That was the big worry. If you get a Biden win, if you get a blue wave, all these taxes are going to go higher. Last time I checked, when you're coming out of a recession and a recovery, you add high taxes. That was a Great Depression. That didn't work so well. So we've been saying we're probably going to see higher taxes. We think higher taxes are coming globally, not just in the U.S. But now with this divided Congress, it's going to be harder, right? We're probably not going to see a 28% corporate tax rate right away. And don't forget when President Obama, a lot of his big initiatives weren't pushed through until his second term. So it's not like these things just flip a switch and go. But the higher taxes are coming. But the positive to that is spending. Stock markets like spending. If President Trump were to win, or if former Vice President Biden is going to win, both of them spend a lot. And you can see here on the next screen, I'm showing all it's $7 trillion the next 10 years of spending. Stock markets like spending, and historically it is true. The stock market does a tad better under Democrats than Republicans. So that is all you mix it all up. It's a unique scenario, but with all the spending that's happening, with the recovery, with the likely not a recession next year, we just think things are still positive. The last thing I want to touch on here, these are the prepared slides I had. Historically, the stock market does a little bit better when a president gets reelected. You can see on the screen, that's the blue versus the new guy in office. And that makes sense. If you get reelected, the economy is probably strong. Things are probably pretty good. That next year is a little bit better. So maybe this says the indecision of a new guy in office could maybe potentially take a little off potential gains next year. But that's skewed. And, after I'll call it the fifth year of Reagan, fifth year of President Obama, and fifth year of Clinton, the S&P gained like 30% all those times, again, because the economy was strong. We got an okay economy, but we're still, look at it, 700,000 people filed for initial claims. We still got a ways to go, but that's just kind of a unique thing to think about here. But bottom line, we still like stocks over bonds. We've warmed to small caps a lot here, as we do think the U.S. economy does a little bit better next year, and still like growth over value. But some of those cyclical value, industrials and materials, are two groups we've warmed to and added in some of our models for our advisors.
Ryan, are you just surprised, though, at just the speed of the rally in the last couple of days here?
Oil was negative 37 or $38 a barrel back in March. I don't think anything surprises me anymore with 2020. I mean, this is just crazy. But you're right. I mean, you would have thought with the sure certainty of a president, that could be what it took for the market to take off. But anymore, I've said for a long time, there's two things I follow through the day: advanced decline lines and what the credit markets are telling me. Both of those have been fairly strong the last couple of months, and I get all the news and I talk about the news. I go on TV and do all that stuff, but at the end of the day, if broad participation's there and the bond market's not freaking out, that usually means the economy is okay, usually means stocks are going to continue to do well. And that has been the scenario we've seen and continue to see, and why we think a year-end rally makes more sense than not.
Ryan, any comment on the precious metals or?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, and this move in Bitcoin here, technically it looks great. Any comments on those two markets?
Yeah, unfortunately, due to compliance, I'm not allowed to talk about Bitcoin. So I gotta go out that way. But I can talk about gold. Yeah, I live in a world of compliance. Sorry, they'll yell at me, slap my wrist. But gold, we've warmed to gold. We went turn bullish gold at LPL Research last September. We still think gold has been consolidating. Looks like it's starting to break out here, right? It all comes down to that dollar. Joe Biden's policies are more, bearish dollar than potentially President Trump's were. So that's another tailwind. And again, I think I said this with you. You probably heard it. U.S. dollar made a major peak in '85. U.S. dollar made a major peak in 2001. 16 more years later, 2017, U.S. dollar made a major peak. I can't tell you why every 16 years the dollar makes a major peak. What I do know is it happens and it goes down for years. We think with the massive trade and budget deficits, those are fundamental drivers to continue to kind of push that U.S. dollar, pull that U.S. dollar lower. We think gold in a proper portfolio makes a lot of sense for a little diversification here. We've liked it for a while and still like it.
And then, Ryan, just to wrap up here, are you looking at any other markets outside the U.S.? Is there anywhere worth looking? Maybe China? I don't know.
Was this the Big Ten football question or not? I'm teasing.
No, I saved that for Joel.
There you go. Okay. No, we've really warmed to China a lot from a technical point of view all year. We do some technical webinars for our advisors and said, hey, Chinese A shares. I mean, I get all the stuff going on with China. Do we trust their data? But technically, China, it looks really good technically. And we're going to release our 2021 outlook here about a month or so. We like emerging markets also. We've liked emerging markets for a while. We still think that's where everything started first. The relative strength's coming there for the well-diversified portfolio here in the U.S. We think adding a tad of China and a little bit of EM. We still don't like developed international, specifically Europe. We like Japan a little bit more, but Europe we still have trouble with. But we think emerging markets with that lower dollar and bigger recovery. China, again, who trusts their data? They might have a positive GDP this year. I mean, that's crazy, but it's true. And they're going to start expanding again next year. China makes up, 40% of emerging markets from an equity point of view. So we like EM in China here as well for a little bit of a different play if you want to get out of US there.
I don't know who trusts their data, but I guess that's all we've got. So,
right.
Ryan, congratulations.
Price looks good.
Congratulations on Ohio State. You guys are looking good. I'll save Joe Hannon having to tell you that himself. Ryan Detrick is the Chief Market Strategist and Senior Vice President at LPL Financial. Ryan, we always appreciate your historical insights. Thanks a lot.
See you guys next month. Appreciate it. Take care.
All right. Thank you, buddy. Thanks, Ryan.
Okay, we got a lot of tickers that were from the chat. I was writing them down.
Ticker time.
Yeah. Joel, yes.
Hey, ticker time. Okay. All right, let's go.
Well, someone had asked, actually, this is one from a few days in a row now. I'd seen Solo get a few mentions, and we haven't talked about Solo for a while here on the
EV trade got hot yesterday.
Yeah.
The EV trade, at least in the morning, it was hot. It slowed down a little bit in the afternoon, but they did rip up. KNDI is one that I trade with this as well. It had a fantastic day. It's following through here this morning. So, these two, I obviously I'm not, digging in the weeds. I just know these two tend to go together to a certain extent. Solo's lagged. I mean, they got a little bit of life showing here right now. But this has still been like a Tesla, NIO, the big guns type of market here. I'm not sure that this is anything more than just a little bit of life before, it starts to leak again. I tried to play this one a couple times. It just hasn't went.
Well, I had the big volume day yesterday. That's what you want to see. 4.5 million the previous day, 17 million yesterday, 317. You're trading right there yesterday's high. So, let's take that out. A little bit concerning is that you spiked up a couple times. You spiked up to 335. That couldn't hold. So 330, 335, those are your next targets. Not only you want to see it go up there, you want to see it up there and hold and show that you got buyers there. But last two times caught a cold up in that area. Good support. Under 280, not great with low price stocks or high price stocks. And what was the other one we were mentioned with this one?
I have KNDI that I sometimes know that when KNDI goes, Solo can sometimes go as well.
That had a good day yesterday. Little follow through today. I mean, I don't see anything clearly until you get over $10. Got a pair of highs. That's a buck. What is that? $1.50 away. Now, I'd be Larry until 1061, 1068. That's your next resistance, and got over a buck. Got about a buck to get to that area.
I sold my
struggling at 9. You did?
I sold my Fisker yesterday. Yeah, I finally got it. It came back to 12, and I'm like, this is just technical trade, and it's breaking down. I still like the EV story, but there's going to be a lot of EV stories there, and this one just cooled off so much. And I watched the stock go. Obviously it was a good one. I had bought it around 12, and it went to 18. I didn't get out, and I sold half of it at 15 on some spike after hours, which was a gift. I wish I would have sold it all. And then I watched this thing go all the way down to the 8 handle. So
what's the symbol on that one?
FSR. So I got rid of that. I sold some stocks yesterday. Some of these sales are obviously bad now because the stocks are higher. The Fisker one was okay. Twitter, I sold yesterday for the simple reason that I didn't think Trump's getting in. And I think he just had this little dead cat bounce off it. And I think the story's still hurting here to a certain extent. So I sold my Twitter. And I sold my DraftKings, which was a mistake because right now I would be back to even. And I sold it for a small loss yesterday when it cut up. But it's tacking on. Maybe I'm wrong. I held the LCA. That's the only one. And I'm going to hold on to the LCA. I like this story. I think the LCA story could get hot. I want Penn Gaming back, but now it's ripped here. So I'm going to be looking for a pullback to get back into Penn. That's the one I kind of wanted. And then I traded Penn for DraftKings. I wish I would have traded DraftKings back for Penn and rebought the Penn yesterday. I'd like Penn to get back to 60. I would strike. So I'm looking to get back into Penn. Like Penn better than DraftKings.
All right, I want to go back to our chat here. Here's one that we have not talked about, I think, on our show before. CVAC CureVac. This is an IPO from back in August. This is a vaccine company. They produce other vaccines, like they've got the rabies shot and a few others, but they do have a COVID vaccine candidate here. We haven't talked about this one on our show. I mentioned they only IPO'd a few months ago, so there isn't that much data here. But CVAC, Joel, take a look at the chart.
Yeah, boy, it had a wild first month there, huh? With off the IPO and settling in. The long-term buyers here, they were trying to be patient in the lower 40 handle, 43, but right now they've stepped it up to 46. So I don't know. It just doesn't seem. Now you're trading up $1.62. I'm not sure on what news that's related on. So I think you'll have to up it if you're going to want that 46. You just have to see where the buyers step up again, just for a little bit longer term. If you're looking for a big move in this thing, I don't remember ever looking at this before. I mean, the whole month. I mean, this is the whole story in
Sleepy.
this one.
It's been a sleepy
Yeah.
stock, so it could break
It's
either
got
way. It's
some
looking
room.
to go one way or another.
Yeah,
Isn't that a song?
Yeah, I think one way or another.
Obviously.
60, 66 is mid-range there. So if you're looking for, that's a ways away now. Just quiet. I think you get a chance to get this one back. Maybe not at 46, 47. Maybe a pullback.
I don't follow the company enough to really like.
You want Sleepy? What about Moderna here? mRNA. Really?
We know I hate Moderna and Novavax. I've said that all along. Where's Novavax? Oh, look, it's back down. I hate it at 145.
Look at Moderna.
Hate it at 115. Still don't like it at 89. I think these stocks are going much lower in the long run. Moderna as well. Although, I mean, they can have a positive headline off a vaccine, but there's a lot of fluff in here. I think long term, you're buying these things and forgetting about them, you get burned.
Okay, wait, on the Moderna thing real fast. They are going to present at the Credit Suisse Virtual Healthcare Conference. That's on the 11th at 8 a.m. So there will likely be news from Moderna that morning, if not the day before.
It's going to get these pops. You're going to see these pops, and I think they're selling opportunities. You know what is a good selling opportunity right now, too? Like an awesome selling opportunity, in my opinion?
What,
Joel?
What?
AstraZeneca. What a rally for A Zebra N. In the last 3 days, it went from 50 to 56.
Oh, that's so unusual. How come?
That's such a big move. Well, it was the drug news, and then obviously it's, we saw all the drug stocks spiking yesterday.
Wow.
But wow, man, this has been a dog and just gave you a gift, and you're coming back to all this overhead supply. I would ring the register if I was still in AstraZeneca. I'd be getting out while the getting's good. Some of these pharmaceutical stocks, they really ripped higher yesterday, and some of these are just opportunities to get out. I mean, Merck as well. I obviously own Merck in the long-term portfolio.
Yeah, man, what a move.
I mean, these are ripping rallies in stocks that were not in favor. The AbbVie move is just insanity. Like, I have some of these in the long-term portfolio. I'm probably gonna stick with them, but if I had these on for trades, I'd be ringing the register. And some of these moves were insane in the pharmaceutical stocks yesterday. I mean, even UNH, like, is it worth $30 more? Was it worth 10% more yesterday because Biden got in? I had Biden as a UNH stock, but holy mackerel. I think I did anyways. But holy.
Look at that, Abby. Wow. Big moves.
Big moves.
Yeah. And
take the gains when you got the gains.
Especially for these are old stodgy stocks.
Yeah, they don't move like this. This is out of the norm. This is like gifts from the trading gods.
They're like derivatives. I mean, holy mackerel.
This AbbVie move, I'm long AbbVie in the long-term portfolio. At least I think I still am. I don't think I got rid of it, but it's $79 a week ago. It got up to $97. You're talking about a 25% move in a stock. Like, this is the entire move for the last 3 months. I mean, this is just huge moves. And these stocks are cheap. Don't kid yourself. Like, maybe it's just a matter of playing catch up. The AbbVie dividend is 5.44%, even at this price. And I think it's safe. I mean, some of these stocks were just way too cheap 5 days ago, but now they've overshot. So I think you sell them and you rebuy them when you get another shot in the mid 80s in AbbVie. Like the companies, but wow, that's a lot of money in a hurry.
Yeah, historical moves there. Quiet S&P here, heading into the last 5 minutes of the show today. I mean, holding on to the gains, still up 62 handles, 34.97.
I want to do Zynga here real fast. They had earnings after the close. It was a good report. I mean, their sales guidance, they actually raised their sales guidance and their bookings.
They hate me, man. The market hates me.
No, it doesn't hate you. It's not you.
I got the Zynga. I was like, it's going to have a good report. I think it's going to do good. And it did everything it's supposed to do, and they just slaughtered it. I guess the earnings, though, the bottom line, they cared about this one for whatever reason, but I don't know. I thought they were going to have a good quarter. And the market thought they were going to have a good quarter, too. It ran. I bought it ahead of the quarter. Wrong.
$9, tons of support there if you want to.
Yeah, I'm not selling it here.
Yeah.
This was I put it in the longer term portfolio because when it got, I think I bought it like last week, like 9:30, I think. So it's back to where I bought it, but I was like, boom, it went 987. I was like, oh, this is perfect timing, and it broke out. You know, now we're gonna get a report, and they're gonna have a good one. It's gonna rally 10%, and no, it went the other way. So I mean, this happens on these reports, but I still think the gaming story is not going away. I own Zynga, I own Take-Two, I own Glue Mobile, I own EA. The only one I don't own is Activision Blizzard, and I should probably rebuy that one. So I mean, I still like the gaming story.
Well, tell me when you do, and I will go the other way.
I know I'm bad luck on these gaming stocks.
You are. Page 56 here. I want to say I've written down a few more tickers, and we'll try to cover those. We will cover those in the afternoon show, but I want to open the floor up now. Mitch, you have another trading. Mitch has been hot of late.
Mitch gives us good ideas.
He was on the Fubo trade a couple weeks ago.
I'm still in Fubo. Mitch, let us know when you're selling Fubo.
Mitch,
what did we buy this at? 11. You gave this to us. It was like $11. It's now 14.5. So Mitch, you're hot right now. Give me more trading ideas.
Yeah, I got something for you guys. You know,
what do you got?
I've been doing a little research, and now now that I've been seeing kind of a leaning towards Biden campaign, as a part of his campaign platform, former Vice President Joe Biden said that he'd put forward legislation that would provide $15,000 in tax credits for first-time home buyers. This could be a game changer for a lot of people that, you know, can't afford to buy a house right now. This could definitely push them over the edge and get them there faster. So some of the ones I'm going to be looking at, guys, let's look at the big boys right now. Let's check out HD and Lowell. Lowell's and HD definitely look on the chart like they're ready to break out. That's what I'm seeing on the chart. I'll let Joel be the chart master there.
Yeah, I don't want to poo-poo because your JD.com. That was one.
Mitch,
that it's just a lot of. I mean, you're up nicely here. I mean, this thing has just had a tango with getting over 290. So you're getting close to it today. You bust out over this, you know, these three highs here. Where's it at? All-time high comes in at 292.95. You got right up to that area before. So 92.66. That's what a move, though. Few day move. I don't know.
It's been a big move already, so we're chasing a bit here. I'd like a pullback. I like Home Depot and Lowe's. I like the stories. I don't think the stories are going to cool down. I think people are still going to be building. I think they're still going to be renovating their homes and doing upgrades and everything else. So I like the story here, Mitch. I think we got to wait for a little pullback here now because they've just run too far.
So Mitch, if you're going along the first-time home buyers trade, you're also looking at like RKT and other mortgage companies.
Yeah, there's a bunch of plays here. So really, you know, to me, this story is not a today story, but more along going into the next quarter. And going into the next year. So another one that I've been looking at is also LL. LL has been doing really well. And if you like ETFs, I'd mention NAV, or maybe if you like some leverage, you can go with NAIL, NAIL. I like those.
I would just caution the leverage ETFs. Are you meant to be used for the short term, not meant to be used for long term investments? That's not how they're designed. So I would just caution anyone who's using those. They're great for trading. They're not really designed to be held as long term investments. I would just caution that.
Way to look out for the risk management side there, Spencer. And other two that I would look at is LEN and INVH on the kind of the home builder side.
I think the home builders still, and they gave you the nice pullback here in the last 3 days. Now they've ripped, and they've ripped too much. So I would wait for a pullback here. I like the story though where Mitch is going. I think the timing, I think we're a little late because 3 days ago would have been the time to strike when they were in the gutter, and now they've had the big move. But with that being said, it's telling you you're right and you're on the right side of the trade. Obviously, congrats to whoever was in them 2-3 days ago. I think you get another chance to get them on the cheap. I would be a buyer of pullbacks on all those stocks you just mentioned because I like the Mitch stories and I like this home story as well.
And also the legislation, if Biden is elected, it has to obviously have the transition and then the legislation on it. So it might just take a little bit of time. But boy, I mean, everything you look at just has had just a tremendous move off the lows just from 3 or 4 days ago.
Well, unless you're looking at those reopening stocks and they haven't gone anywhere.
Right.
So maybe there's a catch-up trade there, but that's been a tough
People are going to be at their home.
Trade.
They're not going to be flying on Boeing and going on cruises.
Well, that's what the market keeps saying. That's what
I think
the market
that's a
keeps
trend.
Pricing in. And especially, it kind of makes sense, especially if Biden is getting in, because he's not just going to reopen everything and say it's the flu. We're just going to go back to the way we were because it's the flu. Trump was ready to do that. He was going to fire Fauci. Biden said we're going to hire Fauci. So COVID becomes more of a play, and this probably makes perfect sense that they're just buying the hell out of the tech stocks here when you really think about it, and they're leaving all these other reopening stocks in the dust because we know Biden is obviously, concerned more about lives than he is about the economy. So he's not going to be quick to reopening everything. So that trade is fully on. If for whatever reason, a huge upset happens here and it reverses because I think they got Biden at like 85% now. But if for whatever reason, we don't have the final tallies here and it does go Trump's way, this trade will reverse in a hurry. So
if the election does reverse, I mean, are they going to take the market down or is it just even going to go explode even higher?
I think they take the Qs down. So because you've seen this trade come on, it's the we're okay in tech if COVID and if we're, going to play, not lockdown, but if we're not quick to reopen everything. So Qs win.
What we got?
Before we go, I just wanted to ask the chat and take like a quick poll here. Who's expecting to be traveling for the holidays? And what I mean by traveling is especially flying. It's kind of interesting to ask the chat, especially with the, over 1,300 people watching right now. Definitely, hit the like, hit the subscribe, guys, but hit 1 if you're going to be traveling and hit 2 if you're not going to be traveling.
Yeah, I've actually looked into potentially going somewhere, but I can't quite bring myself to pull the trigger. I just can't. I can't do it. I haven't been able to pull that trigger.
I'd say it's strong.
I've thought about
no's there.
I've thought about it, but
there is some yeses, but there's a lot of no's in there.
Yeah.
So what'd you say? 1 was to travel, 2 was to not travel?
Yeah, 2 was not travel. It's looking a lot like 2s.
Yeah, and there was a lot of no's right off the bat before you gave the numbers. So it looks like I would say 3/4 not traveling. So there's obviously, and I'm one of them. I will not get it. Well, you guys, okay, let's just ask you guys. Joel, you get willing to get on a plane? Spencer, you are.
No.
You drove to Jersey.
I drove.
So you're not willing.
Yeah.
Either.
Well, first of all, what's traveling?
It's
Is it flying? Okay.
Let's just say fly. Yeah, because car travel. There's no risk in car travel. So we're talking flying. So let's talk flying. Would you get on a plane right now, Mr. Elconin?
I am not, but Lisa is. Lisa is getting her down to Florida. On not on a commercial airline, but she is flying back on a commercial airline. And that's next week, and she's got the gear and everything and the seats, and so she's going to do that because we're going to get grandma back down to Florida for the winter. So
got it.
I'm not going now. I have no plans. She is doing that.
I will be on 0 airplanes until we have a vaccine because I'm still. We know I've been in the camp of being scared about the COVID. Maybe it is just the flu. Some people believe it's just the flu. Obviously, our president kind of hints that it's just the flu. But the unknown factor for me, and obviously I've talked about my asthmatic child, that I'm erring on the side of caution.
Yep, I'm with you.
I'm not sitting here wiping down my groceries anymore, and obviously, staying away from the entire world. But when I go out, I mask up N95 style, and I go into the grocery store, I put on gloves. Like I'm kind of in the Kramer camp. where I'm just taking extra precautions, but not totally upending my life for it. Yep. So taking extra precautions.
Yeah, I'm not wiping down or anything, but I am cautious because of the whole asthma thing. So
yeah, because Spencer has asthma.
Yep. Well, I do, and you're Spencer.
Yeah, so, it's a Spencer thing.
It must be. All right. All right. That'll be a wrap for us here. Everyone smash that like button. We appreciate that. We also appreciate all the super chats and the YouTube. Thank you very much. PJ early on and any other ones that I missed. You can catch a replay of this show on our podcast or on every major podcast platform. Please remember all the information from our show is meant to be used as informational purposes, not for investing or trading advice. Like I said, I wrote a bunch of tickers down.
Little leak here.
Over there.
A little bit of leak. Do we got what's going on, Dennis?
I've been watching. Typically, you see a news deluge at 9 a.m., but nothing really major out at 9. So don't really know.
Someone said something somewhere, nothing good. Man, I was looking mid-range. Well, yesterday, just on the downside here, yesterday's high was 34.80, so that's a level you want to hold. If not, mid-range is 34.68. So there's a couple of areas. We'll have to do some digging here to see what happened here at 9:05. All right, thank you, everybody. Sorry, Spencer, hop in again.
That's okay. That's all right. That's a wrap.
Who's our guest? Oh, Raz is going to be pumped up tomorrow. Oh boy. Get your ears ready for tomorrow because Raz is going to be super excited about the Upwork, and I think he had Vista too. Did that have a good report? Vista Outdoors?
It did.
Yeah. Okay. All right. We'll be back with y'all tomorrow.
Well, yeah, we'll be. I mean, Joel and I will be back at 3:40 p.m. But
Dennis, where'd you get? Oh no, that's Mitch.
That's Mitch. All right, how's it going, everyone? We'll talk to you later.